Committee to order. Let the minute taker please call the roll.
Alderman Sismarski?
Here.
Alderman Messina?
Here.
Alderman Woods?
Here.
Alderman Ames? Here. Alderman Jacob is absent. Alderman Currielli?
Here.
Alderman Catalano?
Here.
Mayor, please.
Declare a quorum. Next, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 8th, 2020. Do I have a second? Any questions, corrections? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Next, report and recommendation, approval of facade improvement grant not to exceed $10,575 for the subject property located at 369 to 383 North Wooddale Road.
Yes,
This-
thank you.
Wilford.
So the city received a facade improvement grant application for the property located at 369 through 383 North Wooddale Road. This property is located in the corner of North Wooddale Road and Stoneham. Here you see the existing conditions of the building. The building was originally built in 1988 and has dwelling units in the above ground floor with 4 retail spaces on the ground level. And it is zoned in the TCB Town Center Business District, where dwelling units on the ground floor and floor businesses are permitted. So the proposed improvements of the project is a roof replacement with a two-toned shingle throughout the entire roof. And the proposed changes do fall under the facade improvement section and facade renovation subsection, which includes refacing the street-facing facade with new material or changing the appearance of the building through a change in roof line or other means. The property owners seek 3 different quotes for this project, and it includes the new roof, gutters, skylights, and the Streetscape and Economic Enhancement Committee did review the submittals and looked at the lowest bidder, which ended up being Kevin Construction with $42,300. And so the recommendation of approval for the grant award not to exceed the $10,575 was provided by the Streetscape and Economic Enhancement Committee. Again, the proposed improvements do fall under the facade improvement and renovation category, and the project meets one of our strategic plan goals, which falls under the providing exceptional places, community aesthetics.
Alderman Messina.
Can you go back a slide, please?
Yes.
Nope, the other one. One up. There you go. So how do we define community aesthetics?
So the goal that's out that specifically noted, the category is community aesthetics. Under that category, we have to continue the facade improvement grant in terms of revitalizing existing facades.
I mean, can I have a follow-up?
Go ahead, follow.
So, I mean, we feel a roof would help, would qualify as a revitalization?
Wilbur.
So under the streetscape policy specific for the facade improvement grant, there is that category of changing the material. In this case, the committee reviewed it, and that was actually one of the questions that was asked was, does the changing of the material qualify? And after review of the policy, it does call for reimbursement under that section.
Being that there's a
Go ahead.
residential component to that, that also didn't matter? I mean, does it, to qualify, meaning if someone had not a commercial building, a residential, but it's in TCB, somebody could qualify?
Go ahead, Mr. Rivers.
It's my understanding that in the facade improvement grant policy sheet, it does ask for specific commercial buildings. A residential building would not, even if it is in the TCB district.
Okay.
Mayor, please.
So, you have a picture of the building?
Right.
So, what they're changing is also that side under the roof. It's not just the roof itself, right? It says siding up on top on the second floor.
That's correct.
Right, okay, because I know we had a big discussion on doing just roofs. a while ago, as part of the project, I think it's the loan, right? So it's not just the roof, it's that
So-
siding on the second floor.
I'll question, so how did we arrive at the percentage and the number that we got to? And specifically, I'm asking because to the mayor's point, we are talking about the mansard, which is part of the facade, but the roof itself shouldn't be part, even if we argue that the mansard is the facade and that's what we're changing. That's the,
Isn't it the type of roof?
yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And the top portion of the roof, the hip section of that roof, I would argue shouldn't be part of the project. So if the mansard's 50% of the whole thing, right? That's the quick math in my head, so I'm just asking how we got to the number.
Yeah, so in the policy, we do have the scoring criteria. So we look at visual impact as well as the visual improvements, improved experience, and financial impact. So we take a look at the application and score it. Based off of that, we come up with the point system. And so we have a grant award. Say that the project ranges between 1 and 5 points. The reimbursement would be 12% of the lowest bidder. In this specific project, we rated, or the policy ended up being 8 points, which takes us at the 25% of reimbursement. So 25% of the 42,000 brings us to the 10,000.
Okay, so, and that's what I thought, so that's the straight line math. And the point I'm gonna bring up is the same point I brought up when we were talking, sitting here years back, about the local and what was reasonably included as a facade and what is actually the roof. And in this particular case, I would argue that the vertical pieces of the mansard roof are facade, and the hip portion on top is the roof. And I don't know what that number is, if it's 60-40 or 50-50. I'd argue that it should be 50% of the 45 or 49, whatever the number is, and then times whatever your multiplier was, 20%. And the only reason I bring it up is because this could happen multiple times, and it's the same argument I had with local. It had nothing to do with whether I wanted to. And when we put this program together, it was talked about that we didn't want this to be, to pay for deferred maintenance that people didn't do, or actual maintenance, things that you would normally do on your house, right? Or a building, you have to paint or tuck point or change roofs, and those things are standard maintenance issues that come up. And so the facade program was to enhance that or improve that. So again, we could argue, and I don't want to, whether that was a change or did it more beautify. It's gonna certainly look nicer. I get it. We wanna go the extra mile to help people out. I get that. But I think as we look at this, we just have to be cognizant of the fact of really parsing out what is the facade, and be careful what we include in that facade number, because they kind of, the project creep, we'll call it, gets added in there, and we start including this because they're bundled under one word or definition, roof, right? And it's really what's the facade. Once you get past that facade, you know, you start going into horizontal planes. If that was a flat roof, we certainly wouldn't pay for it, right? So that's my piece. Alderman Messina, do you want to say?
So is your argument the part that is a mansard, so the vertical part, right?
Correct.
Are you saying that qualifies as basically a siding element?
Right, yes,
And that-
because it technically is a siding or a facing element. So that could be an aluminum thing. It could be, if you go back to, what's the electric company? Ready Electric. So they had a mansard. They tore off the mansard because their mansard had was like a French mansard. It had a ellipse in it, and they made it a straight angled mansard and put a standing seam roof on it as opposed to a shingled roof. So there was greater visual impact because we drastically changed the size and shape of the mansard, and we drastically changed and improved on the material that they used. They also added lighting and everything. So that was a little more extensive This, I would say, is on the low end of what I would call facade improvement. Certainly, it's gonna look nicer or better because it's gonna be new. But underlying question, was there an actual improvement? Did it enhance the neighborhood? Did it pick stuff up?
I mean, sorry, just
Go
to
ahead.
finish my thought. On Irving Park, we have a lot of these scenarios, right?
Yes, correct, that's
So,
what,
yeah, we're opening up a can of worms here if we're not interpreting it correctly. Just for my clarification though, would that part, if we interpreted the mansard part, the vertical part, as siding, would that have gotten them more money or less money?
It would depend on the recommendation that the Streetscape Committee would provide. So say that they were changing that section to siding or a different material, perhaps the category of visual improvement or curb appeal would be higher, and therefore the reimbursement percentage would also increase.
right. Excellent. And
Slippery slope.
well, and that's kind of so it is that, but that was those things over time, because we've did this a couple times and we've had debates up here back and forth over how this should work, and it really is the carrot. We're trying to induce you to spend more money and go the next step, change the material, look better, change the look, and that's why we're giving you the bigger percentage, to your point. Alderman Catalano.
So let's put it this way. If a commercial building comes in and just wants to fix the roof in the facade, we're going to say no.
Correct.
Correct, so,
Yes.
Yeah, so that's,
Alderman Ames?
So based on that, looking at the estimates, the first line says new roof. I mean, that's the biggest portion of this. So that's essentially what they're asking for, is a new roof in general.
Right.
So
but
then it
the-
doesn't seem like that should be approved.
Exactly, but so that's what I was saying, that we're lumping everything under the one word roof. And so technically, the vertical surface or the mansard part of the roof, if you will, the facing, could be considered siding. So you could have shingle siding on your house, you could have vinyl, you could have aluminum, you could have, all kinds of things. So I'm okay with that. It doesn't reach the level that I would like it to reach, but again, we've been pretty easy and open in trying to help, be a good partner here, to make it work out. But to give them the whole roof, I don't know. Mayor, please.
Right, and when they say roof, they're including everything, the siding all the way around and the roof.
Correct.
So, I know I argued the last time, same thing. We're not gonna buy brand new roofs for everybody on Irving Wooddale Road. That's wear and tear, normal usage. So something has to be deducted for that top, and looking by the top, that could be 50% of that whole project. So,
Yeah, their roofer could figure out what the number is.
it would be 60/40, but if we can get that by next week, I guess, then that would make it.
Yeah, you almost penalize people, maybe a few doors down, that wanted to do that, that don't have a mansard roof.
Right, well, we're not paying for roofs, our goal is not to pay.
Well, no, I know that, right, but a mansard is a type of roof, right, Mr. Builder?
Correct, yeah.
So that's a type of roof, so that in their mind, if the contractor is saying type of roof, mansard, they don't know, but you're penalizing, people that don't have that, right? That's, again, it could be
Yeah,
siding, right?
no, I see your point.
Yeah, I don't know, this is creating a bad precedent in my opinion, but,
And that's why we need to be clear,
yeah.
especially when we bring it to streetscape,
Well-
they're just going by the numbers, right? They give the percentage.
Right, well, and how it's presented too, so it's hard, I mean, this is what I live every day, so maybe there's some value in asking them, would they be willing to change the facing material on the mansard itself to a standing seam, which is certainly gonna be more money, but that would, I would think, drive them up in the percentage or the multiplier, because it's gonna bring greater value, right? You'd have greater aesthetic value, and so instead of 20%, they might get 50%. So if the cost doubled on them for, now we're getting into crazy math. So if half the project doubled, and they got twice as much money for and train A left the station at 6 p.m., you know what I'm saying?
Who's
So
chairman,
maybe-
Peter? Peter, the chairman of
Yes,
Streetscape.
streetscape, yes.
Go Figure.
So, well, it's a learning curve. So if you could talk to them and maybe see, minimally get the number of what the top portion of the roof is, and then we could look at it, and then maybe ask the question is, would they be interested? Because I'm assuming they're tearing that one off, if I read correctly. So they're already halfway there.
Hey, what?
Maybe another facing material or something nicer. They even have way nicer shingles. Of course, they're more expensive, but the labor's roughly the same. So maybe they could look at that, and that would bump them up. You know, we'd get what we want, and they'd ultimately get what they want. Thank you. Are there any more questions? Alderman Sismarski?
Yeah, I was just discussing here, would it behoove us not to just go by this one and then have Streetscape go back and re-alter theirs or change their meanings of what answers are citing or anything else? I mean, they're already coming to us with what we already said they could have, according to the subset. You said it falls under their
Well,
criteria. We're up here changing it out while they're asking.
Well, we're not changing it, though, because if you read the letter of what it says, we're not changing it. Did it get passed? Is somebody saying that?
No, I'm just
It is
asking,
okay?
maybe we just go about this one and then let Streetscape go ahead and change their, or alter.
Did we,
Alderman Messina?
on the Dias's property on Irving Park, didn't,
They're doing the front, they're not doing the roof.
they have a mansard roof though as well, right?
They're putting up,
A facade.
they're building a facade, and they put, I think I saw clay tile and.
Right.
But was
and
that
they
part,
put in some stone, they changed the outside of the building, they took off some of the brick, put in.
but on
stone.
that application, because we did give them some money, was part of that reimbursement
For roof?
for the mansard part of the roof? Do we know?
So I'll get,
For sake of consistency.
It's,
so they had a single-story, flat front building. They raised the height of the facade so that they could introduce roof sections. We could call them mansards. Technically, they probably wouldn't be mansard on that, but a roof and an overhang over the front of it. But that's all new. So they changed the look of the building by adding structural elements to enhance the facade. So those were added on things. The thing we're looking here is this is static. The roof is there.
Yeah.
It technically is a roof, but it is also the facade, the front-facing part of the building.
Yeah.
So I would argue it's fair enough to say that fixing that would be, again, although it be on the low end of the spectrum of what we're looking for, it would qualify, but certainly the top portion of the existing. If they were adding, if that mansard didn't exist, and they put that on and said, I'm gonna do a standing seam mansard over the front of it, canopy type thing, and add lights, that's a whole different thing, because they're adding structural elements, they're enhancing the building, and they're changing the look. This isn't altering, the whole goal is to alter the look of Irving, to enhance the look
Right.
of Irving and Wooddale Road. And while just making it look new, certainly is better than old. Mr. Murmas?
Couldn't we just deduct the rough square footage and?
That's what I said.
Yeah,
That
just
would-
do
that would be-
$5,000 and just advance this to council and get it done?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that would be option one. And I just said to Mr. Iberis is that you could ask them maybe if they wanted to. But I'm okay with just deducting whatever that is, 25%, 30%, and call it a day and move forward. And this would be equal to what the rulings we had or how we did all the other buildings. Mayor, please.
yeah, and just to go back to the one on Irving Park, so they may have raised it up a little bit, and over the doors, they put in like a wall, like a parapet wall, whatever, and then they've got
Canopy.
some type of canopy, because they put a couple columns there in front of each door,
Right.
and they're probably gonna put some kind of signage, but I've noted, because I specifically drove over the weekend, and I, just driving around, and I saw they put stone, they took out the brown
Right,
brick,
put
and
the
there's
stone,
like a gray stone all the way across, and they got the clay tile, I think, over the doors.
Mhm.
So they've changed the look of the building. If we take the before and afters, this is gonna look exactly the same. But again, the roof, we're not here not giving taxpayer dollars for facade program to change everybody's roof. That was never the goal. And if we, like the manager said, what percentage is the roof?
Yeah.
It's gonna be close to 50%. So the dollar amount would just go down unless, of course, they decided to do something nicer, like Alderman Woods said.
Okay, so should we just bring it to council? We don't need to vote on it, we gave them direction?
Motion to approve, and then we'll lessen the amount of council and coordinate with the applicant.
Well, I'm not approving until we see.
Motion to approve with conditions stated.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions stated that there's a reduction in the monetary award or an increase or an enhancement of the material for the mansard.
Second.
Roll call. Yeah, we're gonna do a roll call, because I like it.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Fairwell?
Yes.
And that passes. What do we got next? Items to be considered at future meetings, SPT Bank redevelopment, October 27th. Long awaited, everybody be here. Building code amendments contract, November 10th. Ms. Springer, since you're here, so we're gonna have contract out doing building code amendments? Is that what that's saying?
Yes, we are going to propose that we hire HR Green to actually update our building code since we don't have a building official on staff.
So when you say our building codes, just our in-house building code?
So the ones that we adopt, so the International Code Council, so that would be the IRC International Residential Code, the IBC International Building Code, the fire codes, basically the whole suite of international codes that we have, and we probably have about a dozen codes that need to be updated.
But they wouldn't update the actual international code.
So the international codes come out every about 3 years. And so we are currently following the 2012 code. There was a 2015, a 2018, and now there's a 2021 set. So they come out every 3 years. The advice is that we don't go with the most recent code release because that code has not yet gone through kind of use in actual life, and communities find out over time which parts that they've added are problematic. So the recommendation is always to say one set of codes behind, so we are going to ask them to review for us the international codes from 2018 and then recommend any local amendments. How should we change them to make them work for Wooddale? And, of course, they'll compare our old local amendments and give us a recommendation on how we should amend these 2018 codes. They've done it for a number of communities.
All right. I'm just getting used to 2012, so we can keep it that way.
Thinking about
That'd
building
be
me a
good.
house.
All right. Thank you for that. And number 3, fence code cleanup, November 10th. Is there anything anybody else would like to add? There being none, I'll make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
I was going to say
We're
something,
adjourned.
but I can ask offline. Could we address the corner lot? When it comes in the packet.
Call to order the Public Health Safety Judiciary Ethics Committee. We're going to take a quick roll at everyone's still here. Need approval of minutes for August 11th, 2022, Public Health Safety Judiciary Ethics Committee.
So move.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We have a report recommendation for approval of replacement of squads numbered 400, 403, and 449 in an amount not to exceed $136,194. Chief?
So we're here tonight to look to replace 3 current police vehicles that were in the budget for replacement this year. Our normal company that we do municipal bidding through, the Northwest Municipal Conference, has not had any available since March. They don't anticipate any until sometime in 2023. As we've heard, the supply chain blamed on a lot of things, but it's really backed up. So we've been hoping for a release of some new vehicles. And in the meantime, Deputy Chief Zito actually found a vendor in Illinois that they went ahead and had ordered some extras ahead of time, and they're expecting delivery in February of 2023. So the biggest thing is, can we come in under what the municipal bid quote was to be safe? So another source that the city uses which is Sourcewell, that Public Works has bought through. They also had none of the 2023s available, but just breaking today, we knew that the pricing we were getting from Bob Writing's Ford for these 3 cars we thought was pretty good. The Sourcewell nationwide bid, they actually contacted us today saying they do have a vehicle available for what we need, but it would have been $2,376 higher than what we're coming to you with tonight on a competitive bid process that's allowed for municipal bidding. So the price is certainly higher than last year. I think what most communities are seeing is Ford, there's about a $5,000 to $6,000 premium built into these prices, and it's the lowest price we can find right now. If we don't order now, then we're going to be looking at mid to late 2023 to replace any more vehicles, is what we're finding. So more expensive. Hopefully they'll come down next year, but that's kind of the position we're in.
Maybe I missed it. Sorry, maybe I missed it, but were there ratings? Did you list the ratings on them?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I
vehicle
missed it.
400 is a 2017. Vehicle 403 is a 2018. And vehicle 449 is a 2016.
Okay.
Vehicle 403 and 449 will likely be auctioned. Vehicle 400 will probably be turned over into the property maintenance division, so they have a second unmarked vehicle to use for that. So that's our plan right now with those.
Okay.
Any questions?
Mike?
Any roll call?
Alderman Curriell.
Alderman Curriell.
Yeah, could you please explain the scoring system? These vehicles are showing excellent, apparently, mechanical body and interior condition. I would keep a car like that.
Well, and so what we do is Public Works actually handles all the scoring for these vehicles, and so as we get to the point that we're going to be looking to move on from a vehicle, they'll make the decision whether we should keep it in the fleet. There's always use for, we use recycled squad cars for using over at Fenton High School. We'll use them for traffic supply unit. Like I said, we're going to plan on using one of these for the property maintenance division. We sometimes transfer them over to the detective division, and they usually get another 5 to 6 years once they're rotated out of the active squad fleet into the rest of the city. Like 401 that we got rid of this year, it needed to go to auction. We were having a lot of problems with it. It's not something that was good to keep in the fleet. So the city garage will make that determination on each of these vehicles and decide what's best to go for it. But a couple of these, one of these for sure will have many more years of usage. One of the others might get a couple more years, depending on how the rest of the fleet looks.
Follow.
But not as squad cars, what you're saying.
Correct.
City Manager Roberts.
Yeah, just for the residents at home, typically we come out with a vehicle replacement schedule as part of the SURF fund, but just because it says in any given year we're going to replace the vehicle, we do not do that, obviously. Like the chief said, vehicle maintenance looks at it, they examine it. If we can make a vehicle last another year, 2, 3, we re-examine it, we do that. We also do that with computers, technology, so we just don't buy it because it's in the schedule to buy.
Oh, I know that.
And
I've done it before.
we used to be on a pretty strict 3-year rotation schedule for the squads. We're extending those out to usually 4 to 5, maybe even a little bit longer sometimes. So we've greatly increased the use on all the vehicles.
Any questions? Any DAs?
So when we're purchasing the squad cars, is that ready to go, or do we have to put more money into it to bring it up to, what's in a squad car with, the different seating and configuration?
So when we turn over a squad, let's say squad 403 here, we'll pull all the equipment out of the old vehicle, reutilize everything that we can. But we'll still spend anywhere from $4,000 to $9,000 depending. Sometimes with a new model year vehicle, the transport cage in the back doesn't fit in the vehicles that are 3 or 4 years older. We used to be able to keep those for like 10 years. Now, you know, they changed the interior spacing a little bit. We have to replace those. Lighting, some of that's replaced. Light bars will last us 8 to 10 years, so those will go through 2 or 3 vehicles. So they pull out all the equipment, and then they decide what they can reuse, and then they rebuild it. And then we have a company, Public Safety Direct, that actually outfits our vehicles. They're authorized to install the in-car cameras, the radars, the computers, all that stuff to factory specs.
So then, this cost here is not,
Roll call.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Ames?
yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
That passes. Items to be considered at future meetings, we have one police department rehab contract on December 8th. I have number 2, an IGA for ETSB and to be announced. Any other items? If not, I'll ask for a hearing. Make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to bring a finance,
It's a big change. So it might actually increase the likelihood of some people not showing up or being extremely late.
go ahead, Manager
Just
Mummers.
brief background, we did
Everybody's got a pretty active life. Sometimes I can be here early, but half the time lately I've been racing to get here just because of work and things going on and making it the last 2 minutes. As I know Alderman Messina has had, Alderman Jacob, Alderman Sismarski sometimes is, you know, most of us don't have standard 9-to-5 jobs, or, so it's, can be tough if we continue to move it up. So I personally will vote against it. Not to persuade anybody,
Yeah.
but I will vote against it.
Okay, so
And I recommend you too.
let's have a roll call on that then. Go ahead.
Alderman Sismarski?
No.
Alderman Messina?
No.
Alderman Woods?
No.
Alderman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
No.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes. Fails. Next is items to consider at future meetings. We have IT control room coming up in this month in November. And then we have the audit report coming up in November or December. And the CIP coming up January 12th. And the fiscal year end in 2024 budget. Mark your calendars, February 23rd. Is there any other?
I just have maybe
Go
a
ahead.
question, Mr. Murmas, if you could answer the IT room, control room. What is that? Because I thought we rebuilt that, or what, do you have a?
Go ahead.
We're currently working with vendors to spec out redoing both the control room and components within the council chambers. You may remember the Mondo board component.
Yep,
That's
yep.
just one component. The other components are the 3 new cameras. They're quite old, they're breaking down, and the internal controls in that room, the soundboard, the video recording
Is
device.
this the IT control room?
Yeah,
here?
that's
Okay.
what,
that's
we're
what
talking
really-
council chambers and that closet.
Okay.
That's what we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Okay. So
The only
faster
thing
we
we've
can
done
get
to
that
date and approved is the Mondo board.
All right, thank you.
Alderman Messina, go ahead.
Since strategic planning ties into budget, do we have a date for strategic planning yet?
Go ahead.
We do not, but it would be probably sometime in September. It's usually every other summer at the end of the summer.
Or in October? No.
No, sir.
Either
Next year, next
Okay.
September.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call the Public Works Committee meeting to order. Let the minute taker note the same people are present. First, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes dated September 22nd, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. Report and recommendations. First, an amendment to the agreement between the City of Wooddale and Thomas Engineering for the fiscal year 2023 through 2025 capital road program in an amount not to exceed $50,000. That would be my motion.
Second.
Any questions?
Why did we need the amendment?
Go ahead, Director Lang.
So when we first requested proposals for engineering services for the road program, water main work wasn't included. We elected to include that as an alternate when we bid the project. Also, the end date was scheduled to be May 31st of 2023. However, given that we had to split it up over 2 fiscal years, the contractors requested to extend it by a month. So these are to continue the engineering services through that month.
Any follow-ups? Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
And that passes. And then next up is a replacement of vehicles 262, 501, and 580, in an amount not to exceed $566,147.93. That would not be my motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Comments? I'm not against this. I just, for my friends at home that are watching, I made the comment way back when about Second Street. You have 3 trucks that are costing $566,000, $200,000 each. We passed a motion to replace those 3 squad cars. The project to block off Second Street was $100,000. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that point, based on the amount of money we're just about to spend on these trucks. But go ahead, Mayor.
You're incorrect on the 200,000. One truck by itself, the Vector truck is about 496 by itself.
Well, we're replacing 3 of them, correct?
Right, but one of them, the Vector truck is the 496,000. So just for clarification.
Okay, even more money, all right. I mean,
It's
I guess for,
It was average.
it was perspective, right? The amount of money we're spending as opposed to a simple $100,000 fix to alleviate 85 households or 186 people in our town and the fear and all the life safety issues. But yet, we're about to approve basically $700,000 in trucks. So just more of an FYI. Alderman Catalano?
Yeah, so, Director, could you explain the last truck, what it does, so the public understands why we need that truck?
Sure, so our Vector truck is used by our water utilities and our wastewater division. It has a vacuum as well as a jetter and a rotor to clean out sewers and catch basins, and we also use it to hydro-excavate B-box repairs or water main breaks.
And so, follow up, so that project we did in Ward 3 and 2, we're going to be using that truck to suck out the debris in one of those catch basins that we installed, correct?
Correct, yes, the vortex chamber.
Right.
Correct.
And,
Vortex chamber.
yeah. That cleans the debris, so the debris doesn't end up going into the creek.
Right, it separates out the solids, you're right.
Right. Follow up?
Sure.
And the other truck is our first electric truck in the city of Wooddale, right?
It would be our first fully electric vehicle, correct. And that would be used for the meter appointment vehicle, which gets significant mileage and use hours. So we feel it's a good candidate to reap those benefits for being an electric vehicle and save on those fuel costs.
And that's going to help the environment?
Correct.
And kudos to you guys for getting our first
Single-handedly
electric
solving
vehicle.
global
Thank you.
warming, correct.
All right.
Can we, is there rebates available for that?
I'll have to look into any rebates available. I can get back to you on that.
Okay. I mean, have we tested this against some of the other cities that are actually using this EV model?
Not this specific model, but we have surveyed the other communities for their thoughts on using both hybrid and electric vehicles, and the feedback has been pretty positive.
But have any used any? We're going to be the guinea pigs?
No, there's other communities that have used fully electric vehicles.
So they're using it? Okay.
Elmhurst.
Not just, okay. Anybody else? Alderman Woods?
Yeah, two questions. One, the Vector truck. Would it be possible to just rent one when we need it? How often do we use it?
So we use it pretty regularly, and in the future, as we, develop our routine sewer flushing program, which is followed by televising, we intend to use it more and more. Ideally, it would be out every day in the summer, cleaning out sewers in preparation for TVing, and we use it increasingly more for hydro excavating repairs as right-of-ways get tighter with more and more utilities.
And how much wear, how many years wear and use will we get out of this truck?
Our previous truck is a 2006, so we've gotten, what was that, 18 years out of it? 17?
17.
All right. And my next question on the electric car, how many tons of coal do we have to burn to charge the car?
I'm gonna have to get that figure for you, I don't have it on
Yeah,
hand.
if you could do that exercise, I'll do it myself, so.
Can we actually have him run another number of how many individuals have been hit by a car? What those statistics are, those life safety issues?
We could
That would
look
be
into
great
that,
to
sir.
compare the two, because green energy doesn't help when you have people laying in the grass hit by a car. But I digress. Do we have a motion on the floor?
We actually do, yes.
Yes, I made the motion.
May I have a second?
Wait, a second.
Questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
So what will we do with the old Vector truck? Will it go,
It will be
on-
surplus.
it will be surplus?
public
So
surplus,
then
yeah.
we'll get money back for that?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Not 490,000.
No,
No.
I'm sure it's not that.
Can be used in a
But-
movie set. The vortex chamber can be resold. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more question. That, at the point of Alderman Woods, I'd rather have one in-house, not to rent one, because when there's an emergency that somebody's calling in because the sewer back up, we don't want to worry about going renting a truck. We'd rather have one in the garage.
My
sitting
question
there.
was for all the residents,
Okay,
not to try to get rid of it, but to show the value of the truck and how often we use it.
Yes.
thank you.
So there's no black lung.
Thank you for helping with that. And just for a little levity, we could take the old truck and block off Second Street.
I would take that. I would take
I
that.
had
I mean, I didn't expected nothing less. I had a comment section reserved for you. Yes, Mayor. Remember, you're up for re-election.
Yeah, that's okay. And I did ask Mr. Lang about this stuff because I figured it out. This cost of this truck at $30,000 a year. Can we rent when we need it for less than $30,000? But that doesn't seem to be the case, unfortunately. Well, if we need it, we need it. That's the price. So I get it. I asked that. That's why he was well prepared on the answers, because
You've prepped me, thank you.
I saw you staring at me laughing.
Okay, any other questions? I think Alderman Jacob had a question. He just texted me. Okay, all right.
Alderman Jacob?
Okay, I guess roll call, please.
Alderman Sismarski?
Yes.
Alderman Messina?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, and that passes. I should probably open my packet, sorry, it's ready to go. Items to be considered at future meetings, one, well inspection on October 27th, two, RJNI and I agreement, spring of 2023. Any other items to be considered? Mayor?
With these two items, the well inspection, after our little discussion prior to this meeting, you'll come in with the cost factor of what we spend on these, the 3 wells per year, since we're talking about wells.
Yeah, we can try to get some numbers for you. The maintenance that we do on them is mostly in-house. We do all the
Right.
sampling ourselves, but we could try to put some figures together for you.
Just, and then the I know I brought this up when we came up before, we're gonna know how many sections are done and how many are partially done and whatnot,
Yes, we will be prepared
Excellent.
with that information.
so I don't have to ask.
Correct.
Now you just ruined a couple of my questions, but I'm still gonna have to ask anyway.
Anything else?
So, one had to do with the INI, because back 11, whatever years ago when we started this, it was like a 4-year program or a 6-year program. So it kind of piggybacks on what the mayor said. Is there an end to this program, or does this go on into perpetuity?
It's like 12 sections.
Director?
Yeah, we are, I think a lot of the issue of what you're pointing out is that the area that we're working in now was in much worse condition than we had anticipated. It is probably where we should have begun, as it's the older section and more difficult to repair as it's through the backyards. So that kind of extended the program and the need to repair, and increase the budget for those. But, there really is no end to routine maintenance. Once we complete the study area, we'll have to go back and look at the study area that we first did and make sure that that's, but we are focusing on I&I because we came down this road and we want to complete that so we can focus on the larger plant improvements down the road as well.
Right, no, and I was just looking that there, if there's a start, there should be an end, but, and then on to the well thing, if we could figure in our discussion, we talked about it's not easily switched over, so what does that piece look like? What will we have to do, and what would those costs be, or the timing of it even?
Right. And to
You know,
clarify,
if we could just
the
have
wells are connected to our system. They can directly flow into our system. It's more of preparing ourselves operationally to go live with those. So I can get some more information on what all is needed for
Yeah,
that.
I think it would be a good thing for us to have on a piece of paper, just to know.
And possibly a more direct question, or answer to your I&I question is, I believe they're anticipating about 2 to 3 more years' work in this current study area, but there are several other study areas smaller than this, which would potentially follow.
Would, well, would that, I don't know, whoever, would that end, at that point, would we have looked at all the whole city?
There are several smaller study areas that have still not been
Done?
studied, correct?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other items, Mayor?
Yeah, and on the INI, so when we talk about it, the whole reason, because we had a lot of inflow and infiltration, and you can only have so much per the EPA and all that stuff. So as we do these projects, are we noticing less infiltration and inflow? I'm just curious, because that'd be nice to know. Our engineers would probably have some of that information for us.
Right, we are noticing a reduction in the number of excess flow events at the North Treatment Plant, so it is working.
So it could save the pumps, keep them longer, right?
Correct, and with every excess flow, there's the possibility that we discharge and have an illicit discharge, which would result in EPA violations and also wreaks havoc on our filtration system and UV system.
It'd just be nice to know that there is some progress. Okay.
Is there anything else? Okay, if not, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.